Many of you has problems deciding if you should use an iPad or an e-reader like the Amazon Kindle, the Kindle Paperwhite that I have here, to read books on. But you maybe don't need to decide if you already have an iPad, for example. Maybe that is enough for you. Or if you have a Kindle already and don't have an iPad, that is probably enough for you too. But this video I will show you some difference between them and also what I used and how I use them. The biggest difference is the screen, of course. An e-reader like the Kindle has an e-ink display that has a front light, and a front light means that it projects the light from above down to the display, the text itself. And by doing so, they don't project the light into your eyes like an iPad. The light comes from the display up into your eyes. On a Kindle, it's the other way around. It projects down to the display, more like a reading lamp, for example. That means that your eyes will not get as tired or hurt after a while reading much as it do on an iPad. If you read a lot on the iPad, after a while your eyes gets tired and maybe eventually you even get headaches. And another way you can get headaches is from when you're using a smartphone, for example an iPhone, or if you use an Android that has an OLED or LED display, because those displays also has PWM, pulse width modulation, to update the display very, very fast. But that pulse, the pulse width modulation, is something your eyes and brain can see, and that means that your eyes gets very tired fast, and also you can get headaches by the PWM, pulse width modulation. An iPad Air 4 like I have here, 2020 version, only has an IPS display and doesn't have pulse width modulation. So that's why I have this device. I bought it because of that it doesn't have a pulse width modulation display. So an iPad Air 4 with an IPS panel, IPS display, is perfect for get rid of the pulse width modulation. But an e-reader like the Kindle, for example, doesn't have any pulse width modulation whatsoever. So that's excellent. You don't get headaches as easily. You don't get tired eyes as easily when reading on a Kindle e-reader. Another difference that you can see is that the iPad Air 4 is of course much larger and also much more awkward to hold. It's heavier, it's very much bigger to hold and very non-ergonomical to hold to me. So the Kindle is perfect to hold. You can easily hold it with one hand and swiping between the pages and so on, and the build quality is excellent. Yes, the iPad Air 4 has an excellent build quality too, but this is so much lighter to hold, and the backside of this is excellent quality to hold. It feels very nice in the hand, and the aspect ratio of this 7-inch display, and this is a 10.2 display, is more like a real book to me. It maybe as a pocket book or somehow. So the display size is much more perfect to read books on, in my opinion, than over the iPad. I think the iPad Air 10.2 display is too big to read books on. And as I said, much more awkward to hold than compared to the Kindle Paperwhite. It's so easy to hold. But one big benefit with the iPad is that you can easily use text-to-speech. So you can read the book, read aloud whilst reading along. So you can do a 2-finger swipe.
Christopher swallowed a mouthful of cocoa, shook his head, and said, "You know, sometimes I almost forget how creepy you are. And then you go and say something like that. It's best if you remember my nature at all times," said Jack, and offered Kate his mug. "Thank you," he said, taking it.
As you saw there, the book reads up the text The iPad reads up the text for you while you still can follow along in the text while reading. And this is an excellent way reading books too, in my opinion. So I really love reading with text-to-speech, with Apple's neural engine voices, because they are very natural to read with. So if you listen to the book at the same time as you reading it, you get great comprehension and you can read faster than you usually do by doing this. And I have a lot of videos on my channel showing you how you can do this and how to set it up and how to use it and so on. So you can check out my channel and please subscribe to it too, so you can find these videos too, where I show you how to do this. It works great in both Apple Books app and Amazon Kindle Books app. Also, many have said that an iPad has so much distractions, so it's not so easy to read books on as an e-reader like the Kindle here, for example. But I have a video on my channel too that you can see how to create a reading focus in iOS and iPadOS. And that reading focus get rid of all the distractions. You can only read a book after having the reading focus on. So all the notifications, phone calls and everything turns off, and you have only the reading focus, and you can use Books app to read books with. So by doing a reading focus, you get the experience of reading more like an e-reader, like the Kindle. So you don't have any distractions anyway. But of course you still have some other distractions on an iPad. You have so much more apps. You can, for example, use YouTube or social networks and so on an iPad. And maybe that is not good, because then you use YouTube or social networks instead of reading. And you need to get a habit of not doing so. So when you should read books, you turn on the reading focus, and then just read and nothing else. You can't use any other apps at the same time when reading and so on. So you should start with a habit when you should read a book, then turn on the reading focus and start to read. And if you do so, you have the same experience as on a Kindle, actually. So, but the benefits with an iPad is that you can do so much more than reading, of course. You can still have other apps, you can do video editing and so on. So if you want to buy an iPad, you get so much more than just an e-reader, of course. So that is also a benefit for the iPad, of course. And with a Kindle, if you only have a Kindle now and only want a device to read books on, then you don't need to buy an iPad actually, because you can have the pleasure of reading books as much as you want on a Kindle instead. It's an excellent device reading on, so no difference, no problem with only having a Kindle as a device. But if you want a device that can do more than just reading, and you don't have a Kindle, or maybe if you have a Kindle and need something more, then you can buy an iPad, because that means that you can do so much more with the device and still have it as an e-reading device. But the way I use these two devices, I have both as you see here, is that when I am outside in direct sunlight, and also when I am in bed and ready to go to sleep, I want to read before go to sleep, I always use the Kindle, because I don't need a text-to-speech feature then, because I am in a dark room and just want to read, then I just use the Kindle. So the Kindle I use in dark environments. I also use the Kindle in very light environment as outside in direct sunlight. I always use the Kindle. The iPad I only use inside, and also only in daylight during the day, because in the evening when it gets darker outside, I prefer just reading and not listening and reading as I do in the day when using the iPad inside. So you can say that I only use the iPad when I'm inside during daytime. and the Kindle I use for the rest. Evening, night, and outside in direct sunlight. That is the combination I have here. And if you use the Kindle app on the iPad, here I have the Apple Books app instead, because I wanted to show you that it works in Apple Books too. But if you use the Kindle app on the iPad using text-to-speech, you can still have the book in complete sync with your Kindle and also with your iPhone. So you get a complete sync of where you are in the book, and all your highlights and notes get synced between the iPad, iPhone, and the Kindle. So you should actually use the Kindle app, is my recommendation, on the iPad and iPhone if you have a Kindle, because then you have the book in complete sync. But if you don't have a Kindle and only want to have an iPad to read books on, then you can use the Apple Books app instead if you prefer, because that syncs with your iPhone and Mac too. And I use the Kindle app mostly to have everything in sync, because when I use this in daytime with using text-to-speech and listening to the book at the same time as reading, I get the pleasure of, when I stop doing that, I do a bookmark usually, and then turn the Kindle app off, and then later on in the night when I will go to sleep, I start reading on my Kindle. I just start the Kindle and I am exactly where I left off on the iPad. That is a huge pleasure to me, to have everything in sync between the devices. So that's I really love with the Kindle and the Kindle app. On a Kobo you can't do that. You can use the Kobo app on the iPad, but you can only use books that you bought from the Kobo store. On a Kindle you can use side-loaded books and still be in complete sync. That's a huge difference between the Kindle app and a Kobo. So I prefer using Kindle because it's a better device for side-loading books that you have bought from elsewhere, for example in a Swedish bookstore or something. Then you can use the Kindle in complete sync between the iPhone, iPad and the Kindle, because you have side-loaded books wirelessly to a Kindle or an iPhone or iPad using the Kindle app, and everything is in sync. On a Kobo you need to use a cable to sync books and to side-load books to a computer, and from a computer to your Kobo. It's a mess, and I don't like using cables, and you need a computer to sideload books to a Kobo. On a Kindle you don't need a computer to sideload books. I often just send the book from my iPhone to the Kindle using the Kindle app, and I also have a video on my channel to show you how you do that. How to send books wirelessly from your iPhone to a Kindle device. Of course, you can send a book from an iPad to the Kindle device too, as easily as on an iPhone. So, to me, I need both devices because I use an iPad for more than just reading. But to you, you can decide if you prefer just having one device and will have it to do more than just reading, then maybe the iPad is better for you than the Kindle. But if you only want one device to read books on and nothing else, then I recommend you to buy an Amazon Kindle, maybe the Kindle Paperwhite that I have here, because that is an excellent device to always have with you and so on to read books on. Using an iPad for that is not as good because it's bigger, heavier, and not as good to read on in direct sunlight. So if you want a device to just reading, buy the Kindle. If you want a device to do more than just reading, buy an iPad. Or if you already have a Kindle and want something more to read on, then buy an iPad or an iPhone and have everything in sync. So I hope this is enough for you to decide what to do, and I think it can help you by watching this video. It can help you decide what to buy and so on. Okay, bye.